If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is me, your host, Lydia T. Blanco. And as always, I am super excited that you decided to show up for yourself. And, I have to say, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to show up for yourself and join me. And if you are returning, shout outs to you for being a real one. I appreciate your constant support and for you showing up for yourself. Look, this has been an incredible journey. Every month I'm getting closer to the year mark, and I couldn't be more grateful for everyone who has supported, from the Bay to New York, DC, North Carolina, Nigeria, Spain, France, Italy, so many different places, the Netherlands. I'm like, what? Oh my goodness. Different, people are tuning in and listening with their hearts. So look, if I didn't name the city, state, country, republic that you are tuning into, know that you showing up has not gone unnoticed and you are appreciated. Look, I, like so many other people, have been taking advantage of this downtime, right? I am actually in a city called Turlock, California right now, visiting family. And I was like, okay, I need to just get what I am about to say off of my chest. You probably hear this car starting up behind me, but it was important because I am taking this time very seriously. I'm also taking this time to recalibrate and create and realign and so many other things. And it has been important that I be kind to myself during this time. I've always struggled with downtime and idle time because I've had to learn the importance of being still, and if you've joined me on tour before, you probably heard me say that I'm a recovering perfectionist. It is true. I have struggled with the need to perfect things. I've never felt the need to be perfect, if that, isn't too much of an oxymoron, but I like doing things really well, right? And greatness is always a goal of mine. Whatever I do, I set out for it to be great. My standard of greatness is different from others, right? But I'm like, okay, this has to be great. Always front of mind for me. But what has come to mind time and time again during, this downtime is a piece of advice that a mentor shared with me, I think about 6 years ago now. And I was talking about my life goals, my plans, next steps, and all these other things in between. And she said some really, really applicable things to me. But the most profound thing that she said to me during that conversation was, Lydia, perfection is the enemy of greatness. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk about perfection being the enemy of greatness, because there have been so many things that I've set out to do. And while, I thought that they were to a high standard and whatever the case may have been, perfection has often gotten in my way. And one of the things that I do not want to persist is to have or feel the need to be perfect and not be great. I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but that is the subject matter for today. Perfection is the enemy of greatness. I am a writer. I'm a storyteller. I'm someone who is passionate about communicating and communicating effectively, right? And as a writer, I've been told, just free write. Just sit down, let it flow, and then edit later. And I say that because in life, I have edited a lot along the way. And there's nothing wrong with editing, right? Especially someone who, aims to, be great. You're like, okay, let me just edit this. As a writer, I'm always like, okay, oh, was this edited? Oh, okay, let me read this out loud. Let me do X, Y, and Z, right? But what happens is that sometimes we go throughout life and we're trying to edit along our journeys and our processes when we should just be flowing, right? I give the reference of writing just to, contrast and compare to life, because so many of us have had that experience. We're not living, we're not flowing, we're going through and we're editing. And oftentimes I feel like we're editing out our greatness, or we're delaying the process because we're editing along the way and we're not allowing ourselves to just flow, be free. I can't tell you how many times I legit have started something over and have had a million rough drafts. And if I probably would have just committed, not even the first time, right? Maybe the fifth time, to what it was that I set out to do, that I would have done it well and have been more effective and probably been a little bit more pleased with the results if I would have just committed to that one draft, right? Oh gosh, I love, the saying, it always takes a rough draft to form a masterpiece. It's true, but it also goes to say that you don't have to have a million rough drafts to form a masterpiece. When I think about art, I think about all the pieces that, were created in, if not one sitting, over time, but the person committed to it, right? And what is it? The Mona Lisa is not even done and is considered to be a masterpiece. So many great pieces over time. The goal wasn't perfection. And what comes to mind is something that, I was told also, done is better than perfect, because sometimes we don't finish things because we want them to be perfect. And I am someone who loves completing a task and doing what I said I was going to do and following through on my word. But oftentimes it takes longer when perfection is the goal. So it's like, if you want to just do it, get it done and not worry about it being perfect. When I think about, being a recovering perfectionist, I think about how harsh I have been to myself. I, like so many other people, believe that I am my harshest critic, and it is so true. But I believe that perfection is the enemy of greatness as it relates to our personal development and growth as well. I don't personally think that I can be great if I'm not being kind to myself, if I'm not extending grace and mercy to myself. So I really want to share that with someone who is struggling with the need to always, be excellent and superb. On the last stop of the Get My Life tour, when I spoke with two close friends of mine, the episode titled, I Got You, Sis, we talked about resilience, right? And how there's this idea that resilience isn't natural. You shouldn't have to need to be resilient, and how, a lot of people, are tired or exhausted from being resilient. I think a lot of us are tired because we're not being kind to ourselves, because we are being so harsh and so hard on ourselves, and we're not extending that grace and mercy that we need, right? I think it's one thing if someone else is being, a little bit too hard on us, or, they could be a little bit more kind. It's almost like we can get over that, right? It's like, I know for certain that I can bounce back from someone being a little bit too harsh or critical of me. But when it comes to me, oh my gosh, the recovery process is so much longer. I know I'm not the only person. Oh my gosh. I know somebody out there feels me, because there is, everywhere you go, you have to take yourself with you. Okay. And if you are not practicing being kind to yourself in one setting, it's really hard to be kind to yourself in another setting. It's almost like you assume the role of a person who is just nasty to yourself, right? That is just, okay. I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but I hope you get what I mean, right? Perfection is the enemy of your own greatness, your own ability to be kind and merciful and, gracious to yourself. And I think that is so key, because if you're the person who is beating yourself up along the way, you may make it to where it is that you're on your way to, but there's no point in you showing up bloody and bruised and callous because you are the person who could not extend grace to yourself. Oh my goodness. I feel like I want to define perfection a bit. I think we have a basic understanding of it, or let me speak for myself. I have a basic understanding of the definition perfection, but as defined by the New Oxford American Dictionary, perfection is the condition, state, or quality of being free or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. Ooh, that's good. See, I think about perfection as being flawless at times, right? But I think that often changes as well, right? I think we become flawed and defective when our goal is perfection. Let me personalize it. So I've been very harsh to myself, and I am like, girl, you need to be kind. I think I'm nicer to others than I am to myself at times. And it sounds really bad out loud, but it's the honest to God truth. And I have to be honest about it because I think there are other people who may be able to resonate with that. I don't want to be someone who I don't like being in relationship with. And I think a lot of us are, or we run and hide from ourselves oftentimes when we are perfectionists, and the person who we're trying to perfect is ourselves, and there's no need for that. Right? And I think we become flawed. I'm talking about a lot about being kind to yourself, but I also want to say that, it's important to be kind to others. Of course, y'all know I love being kind to people, but I will say that I know a number of perfectionists, and they are not the nicest people on earth. And that may be their flaw, right? It's hard to master perfection. I think about it all the time. And while I talk about being a recovering perfectionist, I think I say that often because I have gotten in my own way trying to be perfect. And now I don't want to be. I don't want to be. People truly aspire to be perfect. And that is, it becomes a problem at some point, right? I think we've seen it play out in movies or in our personal relationships or through whatever examples or experiences that we may have had. But I don't want to be perfect. Oh my gosh, I want to be great. I want to be great. When I think about, perfection being an enemy, I take that very personally because, oh my gosh, I don't want that kind of smoke. I don't know how else to say it. I don't want that smoke. I want to be great. If perfection is the thing that would stop me from being great, then I cannot be perfect, because something could be perfect, but it's not for you. That's perfect for you. Have you ever heard that before? Has someone ever told you that? Like, oh, that's good. That's good for you. Or that's perfect for you. I don't want to be in a condition that is not useful to someone else. And it's because I have a servant heart and because I want to be used by the Most High. Perfection doesn't resonate with everyone else. I'm someone who has a lot of grit and ambition, and like many others or like everyone else, I have a story, regardless if it is, one thing or the next. But perfection is not the goal. I don't think a lot of people can resonate with perfect. And if they do, that's perfectly fine. I just may not be that person. But if anything is my enemy, I want it to be perfection. You know, we love talking about, different forms of excellence. More so in my community, Black excellence, right? But sometimes that gets a little tiring, right? We don't have the opportunity or luxury or privilege of being a mediocre. But I think in striving for excellence, so much gets lost around, during the process. Not everyone is going to be excellent. Not every condition is going to be excellent or perfect. And it is almost unrealistic, or let me just say, in my opinion, it is unrealistic to expect that every time. It causes a lot of tension. It places false expectations on things. And I really believe it's why we struggle in battle with ourselves so much, because it doesn't leave much room for anything else. It doesn't leave room for sensitivity, for social and emotional learning and engaging. You tell me, because I just don't want to. Okay. So, how long have I been a perfectionist? I'm not sure. I want to say it's a long time. I think I've always tried to outdo myself. And in doing so, I honestly can say that I have, at one point, I really feel like I became performance oriented. And that's hard to say out loud, but because perfection was my goal, I think that it set a stage for me to always show up a certain way. And I felt like at some point there was no turning back. And I was like, And I don't think I was becoming anyone else, but I most definitely became more of a people pleaser. Even if that sounds crazy, it's the truth. And I wasn't showing up as my authentic self because I thought that I had to go above and beyond each and every time. And there were things that I didn't agree with along the way, to be quite honest. But, perfection sets the stage for certain things. And I don't think that, it's fair for us to have to show up the same way every time we enter different spaces. Consistency is important, and that's not to be confused with what I'm saying. But perfection sets a different stage for us. And it's hard to show up because at some point you're not doing it for you. And if you are, you might be a little bit too rehearsed. And I don't know if that's how you want to live your life. That's not how I want to live my life. Okay. So I've talked about perfection being the enemy of greatness. I've talked about being kind to myself, extending grace and mercy. And I'm really thinking about my mic drop moment. It's really short, but I think it may be a little bit complex. But I'm not going to elaborate because I want it to mean what it means to you, and I want to leave it up to your interpretation. So my mic drop moment this week, or on this stop of the tour, is perfection doesn't have to be one of your standards. Look, I'm sitting with this. I have wrestled with this, but I am a believer that perfection is the enemy of greatness. And I hope that, what I've said has resonated with you. This stop on the tour is shorter than the last stop because I wanted to be kind, because the last stop on the tour was quite long, but I hope that you got what you needed. I wanted to be clear. I wanted to be short and concise, and I wanted to really reach that person who needed to hear that. And I really hope that you hear me with all of who you are, right? Look, I really don't have much else to say, But I'm so grateful that you tuned in. I am so looking forward to the next stop on the tour. It is going to be good. I tell you that you do not want to miss it. And I am not giving away who the guest is. You are just going to have to stay tuned. Look, if you want to stay connected with me, be sure to do so by getting at the Get My Life Tour on all social platforms and staying connected with me at Lydia T. Blanco on all social platforms as well. Check out the getmylifetour.com. And if you are interested, join the Get My Life Tour Backstage, which is our Facebook community. I am so glad that you decided to show up for yourself and take the time to take center stage with me. Like always, it has been real. Peace.